Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the meeting today. Today, we have the privilege of having Gladys Adino, Dr. Adino. She's from Virginia Tech. Her title is Strategic Services and Education Manager. A while back, we talked with Gladys about doing a presentation on that first year of having a student program, the trials and tribulations of it. And we're honored to have her come today to discuss that with us. With that, Gladys, would you like to take over? Thank you.
Yes, of course. And first, welcome everyone. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for having me. I do want to make a small but big clarification, I guess. I am with the University of Virginia, not with Virginia Tech. So
I'm sorry.
With that's okay. I completely understand. And so yes, so I am the Strategic Services and Education Manager at Research Computing at UVA, University of Virginia. And I have been with this group for the last 5 years now. I do have a background in biological sciences and especially in bioinformatics. And, with the time here at UVA, so I have had the opportunity to launch the student worker programs here at UVA. It has been really exciting and also challenging. Doing this type of work. I can tell you so far it's really rewarding. So I think that all the pains and tribulations are all worth it. I have honestly a lot of fun working with the students. And I think that I have had, really, really great conversations working with the students. And it has been really personally very rewarding for me. So I hope the information that I shared today would be, of any help to anyone that might be thinking about establishing, student worker program. There. So a few things about the program or the way how the program actually was designed. It was actually designed with the mentality that we wanted the students to actually come and support directly the RC vision, the research computing vision when it comes to enhancing computational research across the entire university, right? So when we presented the first proposal, one of the things that our leadership asked is that it needed to be clear and it needed to be clearly aligned with the vision of research computing and the way how we serve the university. The second thing here was that the students will come and assist the staff by taking into short-term projects and freeing some of the staff time so that they can focus on more advanced research support and specifically, in those projects or consultations projects that are the ones that are more demanding in the community. The third thing is that the program also we're seeking that the program will provide to the students like a hands-on experience with HPC and also scientific computing. And of course that the students will gain valuable professional development as they come and work and they have a real life experience, opportunities working with the staff and one-on-one while they contribute to the university's research missions too. So how our program actually got established, let me actually take a look at my notes here. Something happened. Okay. So we actually got started in, we presented a proposal for this program around summer of last year. But before that, the first proposal, so we had one failed proposal, right? Where we presented to the leadership and they say, no, that the program is incomplete, it's not aligning with the vision that we have. And so that was really, an eye-opening for me and, helped me to really start thinking outside the box and how we wanted to structure the program. And so what we did was we started actually looking for all the different programs around the country, right? Different settings, whether they were small or large programs. And actually we went and meet with different groups, right? So this is what we call our advisory committee. So I had the opportunity to actually to meet with, we started, for example, with Betsy and Nora talking about the student program that they had at Purdue at the time. We met also with Drew in Texas, talking about the large program that he had. We talked also with Katia in Boston University. We talked to the group also that is in Northwestern University with Albert. And so, and the last person that we spoke to was actually UC Berkeley with Amy Nitzer and also with Patrick Smith. And so we had a different conversation just to try to gather how different groups were actually went about creating the programs and what were the things, the commonalities that were among all those groups. And that's how we, after gathering all that information, we put a new proposal together, right? And we launched a pilot program in the summer of last year with one student, right? That's what we were allowed. So let's say, okay, let's go ahead and have one student when we're refining our new proposal that we presented in August, and it was approved, but we needed to wait for the funding to come, because the way how we proposed this was to start with the general funding from research computing and to be able to support the students that we're going to hire. Also with that, we had to wait for the new position that was going to be doing the managing of the students, right, to take place. And that's how the position for the education student program portfolio was actually created. So we launched the program officially in October 23, hiring 5 students. We were given a budget of $75,000 a year, which will cover at least 80 hours a week per student. I don't know how it looks in other universities, but here in Virginia, students cannot work more than 20 hours if they are full-time students. So the maximum is those 20 hours. And we started the hiring rate at $18 the hour. So as we continue with the program, so we hire 5 undergrads just because, according to the university policy, it was just an easier way to go and hire undergrads. And we were lucky enough that when we hired these students, I received at least 35 applications in the first round. And so I had enough of candidates to be able to take from the pool and bring for an interview. And when we interviewed them, we asked them if they were to be hired, if they were able to commit for 2 semesters to be able to work with research computing, right? And so that was one of the key things for us, because I didn't want to be doing an onboarding, on the fall and then had to do another onboarding again in January, because that just it would have taken a lot of time just to do all that retraining again. So we did that and worked really well. And so out of the 5 students, we had 3 students that during the summer actually went and did internships outside of the university, where they actually were able to leverage and use the experience that they have gained through with research computing and add to the resume for their applications. Then for the summer, we were able to hire 6 new students, and we had 2 rehires. And 3 of the students that we hired for the summer were actually graduate students. It was easier during the summer. Apparently, students had had a little bit more time, so we were able to actually select from the pool of applications that we got 3 grad students, and we also were able to collaborate with one of the groups here at UVA that was on the research computing, which is the Accord, which is one of those NSF summer to cover some of the summer students. And so we were able to pay 3 extra students to come and join our group. So I had a total of 8 students during the summer. It was a lot busy, but what it helped me a lot was that we used the internship placement program here at UVA, just a format of collaborating with other institutions within the university to be able to do the hiring. And that helped a lot, so that, I didn't hand that many of the interviews, even though that we had a pool of 75 applicants that came for the summer. So for this fall semester, we had to decrease the amount of students because we don't have that NSF or the summer funding anymore. And so we had to decrease the amount of hours, the amount of students actually that we could hire. And so we ended hiring only 5 students using that, again, that research computing general funding. But this time around, through our data center analytics, we actually were able to hire one graduate student that's actually paid with the funding of that center, which is on the research computing too. And it's working directly with one of the faculty members that we collaborate with. This is just to show you, I am really excited and really proud to show my students. So this is the 13 of them. I think that I'm actually missing one, the first student that we had during the pilot program. And this is just to show you a little bit about the diversity of our students, not just culturally, but also all the different skills that they presented. And also, as I mentioned before, out of all these 13, 3 of them actually were graduate students. And the experience, with all of the cohort of the summer, which was a little bit larger, was actually, the experience was really exciting. There's a lot that we learned from the student. There were a lot of projects that we were able to accomplish. So digging a little bit more, just talking about the student projects, just to give you an idea, again, the goal has been to be able to help the staff, right, with different daily tasks, right, whether it is developing scientific computing or whether it is creating new applications. The students were assigned according to the priorities of the different projects that were established by our system engineers and our users group too. And so with that in mind, the students were able to gain some technical, expertise by working directly with the research computing staff. So we assigned mentors, and sometimes one mentor will work with more than one student just because the project was a lot larger. And usually the meetings were one-on-one, and most of them were actually remotely. Also, the student projects allow the students, to acquire technical skill, like I mentioned before, and just prepare them for their future careers. And also, it allowed the opportunity for the students to be learning, like a real life experience and of how it is to be working, real life work, and had to gain some of that expertise for their academic and professional growth. Here I have listed a couple of the different projects. What we did is we put it in large categories, right? And just some of the activities that the students have to work, whether was from the beginning of the fall or through the summer. But we have, some of that tasks that the students were assigned are operational tasks, right? Meaning that they repeat, every semester. So things like maintaining our RC website or creating posts or fixes, right, on our website. That's something that some of our students have become so sufficient that, we just have to say, okay, who is available right now and make these changes to our website. We have projects where, implementing link checkers to our GitHub repository. One of the things that was really exciting for me is to see the students working in creating our new markdowns for our new RC learning site, and also creating the video tutorials, especially for the HPC core training, so that we don't have to be doing that constantly, but we can have interactive videos where users that are new to our system can actually come and just, take the online training. We did things about creating a Sloan scripts, containerize the RC website. Other activities here that we did with Jira is just exploring and creating new dashboard in Jira with regards to the classification and visualization of our tickets. One of the projects right now that is still ongoing is this converting the LDAP, into a Flash application, so that we can have time parameters that can be being of use for some of the user support group. Also, we created visualizations of the past workshops attendance that we had. We were able to pull that information from the libraries and be able to see the historical data that we have of all the workshops that we have taught, and discovering, what are the schools that were more prominent, and also the workshops that had higher demand and the times where people would prefer to come to work, to attend some of the workshops. And then some of the most recent projects that was a lot of fun this summer is actually working with the customization on Open On Demand and adding interactive apps to it. And so we did implementation of ImageJ and Open On Demand, CryoSpark. We did a lot of customization actually with the utility bar and Open On Demand that the students actually created the scripts to do those kind of things. And we also created some of the tutorials for implementing the Open On Demand interactive apps. So that was just, just to give you an idea of the general projects that the students have been able to work within a year, basically, since we launched the program. Tomorrow actually is going to be a year ago exactly since we launched it, the program. So we have had a total of 13 students. 3 of them had been graduate students that were actually working with us during the summer. And when at the beginning of the program, so we decide, okay, how we go about creating the list of projects and how we're going to maintain that, because we knew that some of the projects were, like a single initiatives that they could be finished in a period of 12 weeks. And then the rest will be projects that will continue, to pass on every semester. And so for the fall to the spring of this year, we had 22 projects initiated, and we actually completed 18. For the summer, actually, we had 30 projects initiated, and we completed 22, just given the amount of students that we had and the fact that the students were able to work 20 hours a week instead of 16. We did divide the projects in different categories. Some of them were, smaller projects like things related to the website, projects, where they had to go and look at the HPC system and just looking at the data utilization, or things related like image processing with MATLAB. And then we had the large initiative, which was all the customization that they did with Open On Demand, XD Mode, and also Xalt. More about the students. So we meet every week, and this isn't a mandatory meeting, right? The students are basically hired to be hybrid because they had to be once a week be present for our in-person meeting, right? And we have come to see the value of how important it is to meet in person, and when the students actually get together and work as a group, right? And at the end of every semester, the student had to write a two-page report, a summary report of the projects that they work on, and give a 10-minute presentation or create a poster of one of the specific projects that they work on. Okay, so let's talk now about some of the challenges that we had as we were launching the program. Number one was, so given the budget that we had of the number of hours per students, we find out that the students were actually, perhaps because they were hired mid semester, right? So they were hired in the second week of October. So we have less than 10 weeks to complete that period of the fall semester. And so we find out that students were actually working only 32 hours a week, right? Which was averaging around 6.5 hours a week per student, which was a lot less than we anticipated, right? And we were wanted to have an average to 10 to 12 hours per week. Another of the challenges was the staff time dedicated for the students per project was really limited, right? So trying to assign and finding the main goal was to actually free the time of the staff, right? So that they can actually focus on other things. But as the students came and they were completely new, right? After the training that we provided for them, getting them, up to a speed with the mentors, right? And finding time for the mentors to do that, that was one of the biggest challenges at the beginning. Another thing that we found that was a problem was, the way how we were going to log the hours for the students. UVA already has a system where students go and log their hours, but for us internally, we needed information about the breakdown of the hours of the students, right? Because we wanted to know how much of the time that the students were spending was actually asynchronous work, meaning work that was just dedicated specifically to the projects and nothing that had to do with any of the training or anything with the different, tasks that the students had to do here at the office, but just things that were specifically just to their projects. Another challenge was, the staff members or the mentors, they needed to report the estimated times that it would have taken them to complete the projects that the students were working on. And, you can imagine that sounded to me something, wow, that should be really simple, but it wasn't. Getting that information from the staff was actually like a pulling teeth. But we learned how to do it, and we find a different method to make it more, to make it easier to gain that information from the staff. Other challenges were at the beginning, the significant amount of time that I had to take as a manager to spend in hiring and doing the onboarding, right? So considering the posting of the job, the interviews, selecting the candidates, doing the interviews, and then getting all the students to get onboarded and getting all the training that they needed, the basic training that they needed so that they could, be up to speed to start working with their mentors. So the fall semester, I invested a lot of my time where, part of this position was just dedicated for me to be 25% of my time. But it did take more than that. And that's something that I really had to change and address for the summer, right? But that was one of the challenges at the beginning. Also, the hiring process with HR was, really painful, especially for hiring non-UVA students, because during the summer we did have the opportunity and we wanted to expand and be able to hire students that were not from UVA. And then we find out that if you have, as a grant, through the NSF for the, this was especially a problem during the summer, right? And we had to pay the students through stipends through the computer science department. That was extremely difficult to sort out, right? And there was a period of time where the students were not being paid, and so we had to really change things really quick to make sure that the students were getting their payment. So this is just some of the challenges that we didn't know and that we had to encounter, but we definitely find a solution and how to work around. So some of the solutions here, when I mentioned that collecting the login or the hours that the students were working so that we could have a full breakdown. The way how we did it at the beginning was just the data or the information was not standardized at all. And so one of the students for the summer started working and creating, we started using actually something simple was Google Forms, where the students actually could already log in their time and just categorize in which category they were logging the time, right? Whether this was a time that they were training, or they were taking a workshop, or they were giving a presentation, or they were just doing asynchronous work. Also, they were logging time whether they were meeting one-on-one or they had group meetings or they were meeting with their mentors. And that made it easier for me at the end to be able to look at all the data, classify the time, and be able to say, okay, this is the amount of time that the students actually work synchronously versus the amount of time that the staff spent advising and the amount of time that would have taken the staff to complete that particular project, right? And that was just a way of collecting the data to be able to show to our leadership that the value of the student program in terms of, the monetary terms, right? Not that the program is not valuable, but when, at the end of the day, you have to show that having and hiring a student and having one person from the staff that is investing time and doing the hiring and the onboarding was actually, the investment was actually retributed. Let's see, another, so because we had those challenges with logging the time, right? So one of the students was assigned to actually work in a project of creating a new application so that that the students actually could log in into their specific or personal page and go and log in that time and do the breakdown. And for me as a manager to be able to just go and collect the report. We knew that there are other applications that probably provide that, but at the time we could not have access to them because they were paid applications. And so we had to source something different. Also, one of the solutions that we found, it was that the time that invested hiring and onboarding actually manifested in return for the summer, right? Because what I had to do is some of the students that went to their internships and came back, they were rehired. And some of the students that were already from fall to the spring semester became, what we call our senior students that were able to help with the onboarding and some of the training for the new students. Another of the things that we implemented that we know it did work really well is having one-on-one meetings with the students, either weekly or bi-weekly, right? And usually my meetings with them will be 15 to 30 minutes, depending on how much we had to cover per project. And we found that as we did that, we changed this for the spring semester, students were more encouraged and they were able to take ownership of their own projects or take ownership, if they were having difficulties. Also help them to develop professional habits, right? Of just the simplicity of I had to create a meeting, I had to put it in your calendar, right? There's something so simple like that the students actually had to learn how to do. And they were more successful in completing the assigned tasks, right? If we were meeting every week, having a one-on-one. And this other part here was the ability to be able to, use some of the senior students, right? And give them the opportunity to have some leadership as they were taking some of the responsibilities when it came to the onboarding and also some of the training. For the future, what we're doing right now, this is a moving target just because our entire group is moving to that, but we're testing a new way of logging our projects, right? Especially the student projects. And through this app in Jira that is called the activity timeline. So that's something that we are right now testing and assigning, again, a student that is able to actually go and test the tool and collect some of the information. For this past summer, one of the things that we had in mind too, it was that we wanted to increase the number of hours per student, right? And so we were able to do that for the summer. And definitely the summer was very productive for us, right? Students were in average, close to working the 20 hours per week. Now, for the fall semester, we already know lessons learned from the previous, right? That students get, because of their academic responsibilities, right? The amount of time or hours that they can actually commit is a lot less. But we find a way of how helping the students to commit at least working having a total amount of hours per week of 16 and trying to average at least 10 to 12 hours a week, right? That is probably the minimum required for the students to continue, and also plus the commitment that they are coming back for the spring semester. And with that, I will take any questions.
I have a question, Gladys. Can you, maybe you've touched on this and I didn't see it. Do you have like a mentoring? Do you have like multiple full-time practitioners working with students? Is there just a couple? And how does that workflow work? And maybe you covered that in the slides and I missed it.
So the way how we go is we go about the projects first, right? So we have our system engineers or DevOps team or user support. So at the beginning of every semester, right, when we are about to finish every semester, right, during our meetings, we said, okay, here is the list. If you have any particular projects that you have in mind, we call it our Christmas list or we call it our wish list that you have in mind, right? Can you add it to the list? And so one person from the staff would volunteer and say, well, I have a tool here that I would like it to be customized so that I can go and actually get, some of the statistics or some of the data that we need from the system. And so that's the way how we go assigning a particular staff member with the students. Now, we have found that some people will have, a really great idea. We create a project, but they don't have the time. And someone else in the staff actually ended working with the students, right? And that's just because we realized that, perhaps the expertise that was needed to create or to develop that particular application, it was in someone else's territory. But, we just move it that way around. And there are some cases like for the open on-demand customization that we did for the summer. We had one mentor, but we had 3 students that were working in 3 different pieces of the open on-demand customization.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Yeah, thanks, Gladys. This was really interesting, and I'm glad we got to hear. I know we've heard bits over the past year from you, but it's really good to see how it all comes together. I did want to ask, when you said you hired some grad students during the year, are they getting tuition support also, or are they getting hourly pay just like the undergrads?
We found that the easiest way for us was to do the hourly pay, right? And I was surprised. I think that also there was a specific program here in UVA that is with the computer science department where the students can do, is this a specific program that they can do a master program, right? But I don't think that they are doing research directly, or that they have like a PI for research assigned to that. And so they had the ability to actually work hourly.
Okay.
That was actually to our advantage, right? Because it was so great to have some of the grad students.
Yeah, I just want to see how that could be useful. And that probably explains why you've had more grad students in the summer as well. And then, so I want to ask, so looking at the projects, it seems like one of the things that you said was successful was that each student had a specific project, or maybe you finished one and started another.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any that were doing sort of more general, like user support, answering tickets, or just analyzing tickets?
So one of the things that I was told at the beginning when we launched the program, right, was one of the biggest concerns. Our director wanted to make sure that before we send the students to answer any tickets, right, that the students were really prepared to do so. And so A year after, right, we are now into a year, so we have some students that have been with us the entire year, some of the students that we're actually preparing to get into working in some of the ticketing. So the student, for example, the grad student that we hire right now that is being paid through our data analytics center, right, is a student that has expertise with BAS. And so he is able to actually answer some of the simple tickets related to that particular application, but it's because the way how he is embedded in that particular research project. But when it comes to the daily task, of the daily tickets, right, that's something that our director was really cautious at the very beginning and want to make sure that before we send the students to that, the students were actually really prepared and trained to be able to do that. And since we have so many other tasks that needed to be accomplished, within our DevOps team and our system engineers and even our support group, right? The students are actually pretty busy before they can get into the ticketing system.
Sure.
Now, nevertheless, that the students are also, the students had to be trained, right? So one of the things that the student had to do every semester, we have a core training or HPC core training, and every single new students, right? They had to take that training. And the students that are just recurrent, right? They are always, it's suggested to them to, if you need a refreshment, just go and make sure that you take the training again, right? Which is our workshops.
Thanks. Yeah, that was, because I know what we've seen, we now have students who are answering our tickets, and that's been, I think, a challenge for us, having them be productive relative to the staff investment time compared to when we give them individual projects where they've been really productive. So that's why I was asking to see how you handled that.
Yeah, we found out that, you also have to find the right match, right? Not every
Right.
matching that you do with the mentors actually works. Some students work better with some mentors. And so what I do is at the beginning of the semester, I ask the mentors or ask the staff, okay, if there is any project, just let me know. And what I need to know is what is the project, right? What are the skills that you need, right? So that will give me a list of 3 different things. So we need someone with Python or someone with HTML or so on and so forth. So once we have the list of project, right, and have all the students already in the room, we go about sorting out like what are their, skills or superpowers, right? And we begin to assign. Sometimes I just do the executive decision that I assign some students to some specific projects, but sometimes we just ask the question, okay, this is the new project. It might take, 2 to 3 weeks, or it might take 10 hours, right? I ask the staff also to give me a timeline of how long that project might take. And I just go and ask the student, okay, how many of you are no matching the amount of hours that you actually want to have this semester, right? And so they're the ones that say, okay, can I take that project up?
I see. So so the students are not hired for the project. They're hired as sort of a general pool.
Yeah. Yes,
and
they
then
are hired as a general pool.
I
Yes.
see.
Except for now that, we're doing slightly changes for, because our data analytics center also was launched a year ago, right? And so if there are opportunities that a particular, faculty member might request, hey, I have some of the funding and I would like to be able to pay one of the students hourly, right? And can we do this through research computing? Because, they're going to probably be using one of our systems. So that's something that we can actually accommodate. But all the students, whether they are being paid directly from the RC funding or they're paying from, the data analytics center or a faculty member, they all come under the same umbrella of the student workers. So that make sure that they all receive all the training, right? And that they are all interacting. So I have my 2 students here, so I don't know if any of you would like to ask any questions.
Yeah.
This is Steven and Jennifer. The other 4 have midterms or they have class right now, so.
I guess I'd be interested to hear from two of you, like what projects you've worked on and what you've learned from doing them.
Jennifer, would you like to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. There's people touring my apartment right now, but just ignore that. So I worked over the summer and then now I'm also working in the fall. And so things that I've worked on, my main project has been converting like the workshops that we do for our users and turning them into Markdown so then people can access those later if they missed the tutorial or whatever. And that was really exciting because at first it was like a very tedious task. It's very like manual labor, just like hand editing. But through working with my mentor, I established like a good relationship with her, and I was able to kind of like think like, okay, like how can we optimize this process? How can we like make this easier for me? How can we make this easier for the staff? And that was really interesting. Just to have that type of freedom to kind of put in my own input and thoughts instead of just like following directions. And something else that I found really valuable in RC is kind of like working alongside with RC staff. I feel like the mentor process is really great, just being comfortable enough to ask my own questions and get my own clarifications without like needing to go through Gladys or just, needing to do that. And something that kind of not surprised me, but something that I needed to adapt to was the fact that like their priorities are always changing. It's like a day to day, if there's a fire to put out, like they need to put out that fire. And so being able to kind of manage my time and prioritize tasks was something that I needed to adapt to, but I'm very grateful that I learned that.
Thank you, Jennifer. Steven?
Yep. Hello, I'm Steven. I'm a second year student, so this is kind of my first job at RC. It was my first experience in what I would call the real computer science tech industry. Um, I am like super fresh hire. I've been at RC for I think a month now, 4 or 5 weeks, but I'm already starting to work pretty consistently on the website maintenance, both on the research computing website, and there's also a research computing learning website, which kind of exists semi-independently from the main website. Gladys was talking a lot about how some of the students get super familiar with the website and they kind of take it over. So that's hopefully that's me in the next couple of months. And I've been able to primarily interact with students who in the past have, I guess, achieved that status, and they've kind of acted as mentoring. So I guess the student on student mentorship, and then on the RC learning side, I've been able to work with a staff member who manages that. So I've gotten experience in both working with staff already and working very tightly with other students like Jennifer and others. So it's been a very good experience, and I look forward to continuing at RC.
Excellent. Yes, and so because, actually one of the students became so fluent with our RC website that we had to give him superpowers, to actually go and make changes on his own. So that's the trade here with the students, right? That, if you don't get to break anything, so we'll give you superpowers so that you can have the freedom to do things there, but just don't break anything.
Always the challenge we all face.
Yes. Any more questions? Like I said, tomorrow is actually going to be our first, year anniversary that we launched the program. And so far for me has been a great experience. It has been a lot of work, and I won't deny that. Finding the balance in between the amount of time that I was able to that I could spend actually with the program, right, versus the other responsibilities that I have, the other two hats that I had to work within my team. That was, something that was challenging for me. Also, having the experience to work with the students, they are just like the staff, right? Just that they need a little bit more care. And they need a little bit more like, okay, wait a second. Let's just reel this in right now. Okay, let's just, pause and let's think again what we want to be doing. But I think that the interaction so far has been really positive for me, and I hope so. It has also been positive for the student. I have been told that yes, it has been, but they are here so they can testify to that. And our plan is, or the plan that I have is to be able to expand so that instead of just the 80 hours that we have budgeted for, right, we can actually increase that. And so I'm actually right now working the data from the summer projects. And so far we have saved the staff at least 13,000 hours of work just during the summer.
Nice.
And so that is a huge amount of hours, if we count it in how much would be the hour of every single staff member, right? And so hopefully that will give us the opportunity to increase the amount of students that we can actually bring in. And we're looking now into the possibilities of, okay, with the new groups that are within ITS here at UVA, right? Because we know that the InfoSec group also has some students. So how we can begin to combine and make it do some hybridization that we can, mix our students and projects, in the interdisciplinary projects, right? And also looking at the opportunities of, grant opportunities, so that if we can expand the program as a whole in ITS and not just for research computing.
Gladys, I had another question. When you do onboarding, and again, you might have said this in your presentation, when you do onboarding, do you do one generic onboarding for everyone, or is it sort of customized to based on the skills and qualifications of the students coming in and who can help deliver those services? Like, do you obviously they all probably go through, here's how you log into X, but is there a general onboarding and then specialized, customized?
No. We do start with a general onboarding, right? So that is the same for everyone, how you do, how you get access to Jira, the GitHub, and things like that. Now, if we are rehiring students, right? So we minimize part of that, and so some of our senior students can actually do that part. Like they show it then, okay, this is how you log in Jira, and that's how you log your project. This is how you're gonna log your hours. But now we have some students, right? Especially for this semester that we're moving then into more of the containerization. So some of the training, some of them had to take some specific training, right? That was actually already being taught by our staff, right? So they were invited to come to those workshops to take those specific training. And some of the new members like Steven, right? He had to actually go through the whole HPC core training. So for him to get up to speed with the rest. And now when they have a specific projects, right? So the students are able to log their time and said, okay, I spent this time training in this specific workshop or tutorial that was outside of UVA because it was needed for this specific project that I'm working on. And so the way, that's the reason why we do the login or the breakdown of that, of how they spend their time is basically to do that of what I can just take apart everything that is just asynchronous work. Right? Because that's the part that our director is interested in seeing, right? How much of the time actually was spent in students just working on projects. They are fully aware, of course, that, that the students will spend time working on their presentations, time in presenting, right? The presentations to the staff and things like that. Or if we have different outreach events, so our students have been able to participate and to be present. We had recently just an open house because we had a new system coming. So the students were able to participate, bring a poster, and just, log some of that time as part of their working time, right?
And then when you're doing the recruiting and the selection process, is it all the full-time practitioners that interview the students, or do you have other students also interviewing students? So what does your recruiting and selection process look like?
So for the first two rounds, we did it with other 3 staff members, right? So I took a look at the big pool, right? Selected my candidates that I wanted to bring for interview and then set up the interview. So I had 2 more people that will just interview with me. And then would you just do, at the end of the day or selection and say, okay, we want ABC. For the third round, I invited one of our students to participate in our interview process, just because I wanted him to get some experience of what we are looking, right? No, every student was invited to do that. Just, one of them that was taking some of the responsibilities for the onboarding and for the training. Now I do have to mention too that we have one student right now that actually moved from UVA and moved to a different university, and we still hire him, right? Because all the time that in training that we have invested and the way how he has worked with the staff has been so great that paying the overhead cost of paying a non-UVA student is just worth it.
Nice.
And this was a student that was a freshman who started with us, and now he's out in a sophomore now, second year, right? Yes.
So, and then did you go over how are you doing recruiting? Because you did talk a lot about your you have a really diverse group of students. So did you mention that, like, do you advertise locally? Do you go to different faculty? Like, how are you getting such a diverse pool of candidates?
So we use mainly we use the system here at UVA, right? That's called Workday and Handshake for the students. So once I create the post, HR would distribute that for me. But I am very intentional when I distribute the posting, right? I try to reach out to the HPC list, woman and HPC list too, and every person that I might have a contact with, like here, I know we're hiring. And to be honest with you, that the amount of candidates that I have got has been overwhelming, right? When you have 75 applications, it's like, okay, but I just need to hire 5. But I had to go through all of them and then just pool my candidates. And what I did this time, instead of creating every semester a new posting, I just kept it open, right? And I just go back and to say, okay, I like this candidate, and okay. So in the case of Steven, for the summer, we were not able to hire him because we had a limited, amount of hours of students that we could hire. But he knew that he wasn't, one of the candidates that we wanted to bring. And I said, if you are willing, let's wait to the fall and to that round, and do the selection again and to bring you in. And that's what we did.
Okay, thank you.
So if I can kind of throw something in that kind of fits in there. So once you've selected them and hired them, I've kind of got 2 bits to kind of ask is what are you doing kind of for retention, maybe raises kind of on that? And then the second half is there an active effort in the program currently to see the students potentially become staff, kind of that graduated path?
Yes. So yes and yes. So to the first one is retention, yes, salary, right? And I believe that we pay the students pretty well. I have been told that we pay them pretty well compared where will they be making, a Harris Teeter or to the store. So that's one, right? And so the starting rate for the students, and I put it there because it's just not a secret, it's $18 per hour. But since we have some students that have been with us for a year now, and they have transition into other level of responsibilities, so does their salary. And when we hire the graduate student, of course, they were, because of the skills that they have, and they were already a graduate student. So I actually created, how do you call this? Oh my gosh, I forgot the word. I created a whole matrix for hiring, right? And according to the degree that they had, in which year they were, and the experience that they have, the rubric, that's the work. Yeah. The rubric for hiring, right? So obviously for graduate students, there is a maximum, which is a lot higher for the undergrads, right, that they can go. And for undergrads, I think that the max that they can go is $26 per hour. But for graduate students, I think that is $32. And so I took all that in consideration and created that rubric, right? But it's mostly basically an experience and the skills that they have, and if they have already spent some time with research computing. That's one. And the other question you asked me, I forgot now, is
it was the rolling students towards a staff role.
Oh, yes. There was one particular student, but she took a semester off this fall semester. That one of our staff members, from the data analytic center was actually keeping her eye on her because, the skills that she had and the way how she manipulated the data. But yes, we definitely, my students know that we are keeping an eye, on them, right? To see how they develop and how they grow through their period with us.
Okay, we're at 5 minutes. Does anyone have a last question? This was a really great conversation. Honestly, could I squeak one more in? Stephen,
yeah, of course. Oh, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
As a student, do you feel like with these are transferable skills to what you're learning in the classroom? So does it extend beyond, are you able to say like, okay, in my degree, I'm able to take what I'm also learning in my job, and are they transferable? Are you seeing that they transfer, or are they completely disconnected? Are they helping you in your academia life as well, I guess is what I'm asking.
The answer is most definitely. I would say even just from working on the website, which is primarily what I've been doing for the past month, that already extends beyond what I've been doing in the classroom, which I would say is kind of underwhelming in the classroom right now. So I think the hands-on stuff, being able to work on the website and then push my changes, and then like in the next week I can actually see it in my browser is pretty crazy. And that hands-on experience is probably more useful than the classes I'm going to take in the next couple of years.
Awesome. Thank you. And Jennifer and Stephen, thank you for participating today. It was very useful. Thank you.
Thank
Yes,
you
of
guys
course.
for having me. I hope, like I said, I welcome any feedback because, we are new at this, we're still a small group. We have to do things slightly different just because of, university policies and the vision of our group and all that. But, any feedback we will welcome.
Thank you and have a good day.
Thank you so much.
Take care.
Thank you so
Bye.
much. Bye.